Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today we're starting a new adventure, a new epic adventure where we're going to go through my complete run of Captain America from Tales of Suspense 58 through Captain America 454, which is where Volume 1 ended. And then, of course, it was rebooted with Heroes Reborn, and then it came back, and then it's had like 18 different little volumes since then. But that was a great jumping off point for me. So Marvel, good job. You convinced me to stop collecting a bunch of comics when that happened. And I've kept my complete run. It's a run that I've always really enjoyed. There's a lot of great individual runs within that. And so I thought I'd show it off. Obviously there's a lot of keys in here as well, but for me, I'm a completist. I like complete runs. I buy to read mostly. So we're going to do that. We're going to go through the complete run. I'll be breaking it up into batches of 50 issues, except for the first one, where we're going to go from 58 to 99. And then going forward, future volumes will have Captain America 100 to 150, 151 to 200, etc., etc. So excited to get going on here, and we're going to start off by cheating. We're going to cheat right out of the gate, because I figured if we're going to be showing off Tales of Suspense 58 and 59, we might as well show 57 as well, because it's a great 3-issue run, 3 keys in a row, all underrated. First appearance of Hawkeye. Here it is, Iron Man 57. My copy is a solid mid-grade. It's about a 4.5. Looks a little nicer, but it's got a tear on the back cover that's about maybe an inch long. I traded a high-grade copy of X-Men 101 for this, probably about 10 years ago. The copy of X-Men 101 that I had was it was about a 9.0 or a 9.2, except it had pretty significant tanning on the interior pages. So hard to say. I'm happy with the deal. I know X-Men 101 has really taken off the last year or so in particular, but I don't care about the X-Men. I love Hawkeye. So here it is, Tales of Suspense 57. Now let's get to the meat of the run with Tales of Suspense 58. Great classic cover. Kirby cover, Iron Man fighting Captain America. Just a great cover. It's an interesting, very Marvel, very Stan Lee sort of sales strategy here. At the same time this was coming out over in Tales to Astonish, they did the same thing. So in that book, Giant Man had been the main character. Here it's Iron Man. He decided to do split books on both of them because they had a limited number of titles they were allowed to put out under their distribution deal, and since he wanted to get out more books, he decided to split these books into 2 and have 2 features in each, since he didn't have the space to give Captain America his own title or the Hulk his own title. So what they did was, in Tales of Suspense 58, we get Captain America as a guest star fighting Iron Man. Over in the other book, in Tales to Astonish 59, it's Hulk as a guest star fighting Giant Man. And then in the next issue, which I'll just jump to now, it became the split book. So here it's Tales of Suspense 59 with Iron Man and Captain America, another classic cover from Kirby. Over in the other one, it's Tales of Astonish 60, where it becomes a split book with Hulk and Giant Man. These are vastly underrated and undervalued for their significance. This is the first appearance of the first issue of Captain America here. It's 59. And I'll get into that in a second, but compared to prices of later books like Captain America 100, for instance, is a book that's worth probably as much or more than this, and that doesn't really make any sense. This is the first issue. 100 is just a continuation of the storyline from 99. This is where the run begins, and as a result, all of these are vastly undervalued because they're the split books. It's almost like fans of either Captain America or Iron Man don't value them as highly because they're only in half of the book. And that's across the board for all the split books. They're undervalued, underrated, and underappreciated. I think they should all be worth significantly more than they are. One thing we're going to see here is I put this run together in the late 80s and in the early 90s. Most of these I have not rebagged since then, which I should really do. But it means that I still have the price tags on them. So you're going to see just how cheap these books were. And it's kind of boggling. And they're still cheap. You can still get low-grade copies of some of these issues for $5 or $10, which is crazy considering how important they are. I mentioned that 59 is really the first issue of the run, even though you might think it's 58. Now, the reason that I consider 59 to be the first issue of the series of Captain America is because this isn't actually Captain America. He does appear briefly in the story, but the Captain America that's fighting Iron Man is actually the chameleon disguised as Captain America. I don't know why they did this multiple times. It was the same thing in Strange Tales 114, where they were testing the waters to see if people wanted Captain America to come back. I don't really understand that, and I don't know why they didn't just do it. And the same here. So it's kind of a tease. I believe, and I might be wrong, but over in Tales to Astonish, it's much clearer. It's actually the Hulk. So I would consider Tales to Astonish 59 to be the beginning of the Hulk run. But for me, 58 here, great classic cover, great story, and everyone should get it. But 59, I think, is really the first issue of the Captain America run. You really want to get both anyway, but one thing that does hinder some of these early issues is that a lot of the first Captain America stories, some of them are set in World War II, not all of them, and it's sort of like, it took them a little while to figure out what they wanted to do here, but here is a cover that I love. Not everyone loves these early split books. Eventually what we're going to see is they go to where they have either Iron Man or Captain America on the cover rather than both, because they are kind of cluttered. But I love this cover. I love the yellow. I love the graphic elements with the two. I love the design. So here's Tales of Suspense 60. This was one of the more expensive books actually in the run for me at $14.75. It's nice that some of these That's Entertainment is my LCS. There's a code actually on the price sticker, and the code is the date. So I can see that they got this book was priced on June 2nd, 1993, $14.75. Has not significantly gone up in value since then. Likewise, this one was priced on October 22nd, 1994. Tales of Suspense 61, solid lower mid-grade. It's probably a 4.5. I paid $7.75 for it. Another one where we're getting images for both of them on there. This will continue for a little while before they decide to just do one or the other. Again, really underrated these split books. I've talked before about Tales to Astonish 70, which is the first issue of the Submariner series. Submariner 1 has been going crazy in price recently, but, you know, that issue is actually like issue 32. If you're reading them, you need to start with Tales to Astonish 70, which has a great cover, a great Namor cover on it. Here is Tales of Suspense 62, low-grade copy. Breakout in Cell Block 10. I gotta admit, I have not read all the Iron Man features in these. I'm not a big Iron Man fan. I know that's crazy talk. This has a price of $6.50 on it, which is actually pretty high. This is, I think, the one I paid the most for after issue 59, and it's a nice copy of Tales of Suspense 63. It's probably, honestly, it's probably only about a 5, but it maybe a 5.5. Looks nice though. It's the origin of Captain America, so this is a key. They retell his origin here, but they also make some alterations to it for the Silver Age. There's some new information, new details. It's just they changed a few things around. So this was from February 25, 1993. I paid $28.75 for this. 64, underrated, really underrated book, Tales of Suspense 64. Nice mid-grade, got a bit of a spine roll. It's probably a 4.5, maybe up to a 5. It's $9.75 that I paid for it at the end of 1993. Second appearance of Hawkeye. So these issues are all pre-Avengers 16. One great thing about the numbering, I'm not sure it lines up just yet, but for a couple decades there was a great thing with the numbering on the books, where the numbering on Captain America, Thor, and I want to say Avengers, all lined up. They were like in 50 issue increments, I think, or 100 issue increments. So, for instance, this would be at the same time of Avengers 14 and Journey into Mystery 114. I'm not sure it lines up yet, because some of these books were bi-monthly, but at some point relatively early on in the Silver Age, those lines up, and so you can just tell just by looking at what the issue number is on one of those books, you'll know what the issue number was that month for the other ones as well. Second appearance of Hawkeye, really underrated. Okay, here's a couple interesting books I have in higher grade. Still more in the upper mid grade, so this is probably a 6.5 or a 7, maybe a 7. Looks really nice. Tales of Suspense, 65. Enter the Red Skull. And then we're just going to go with this here, 66. Also have a Red Skull. I want to show both of these. I paid $18.75 for this at the end of 1994. And again, it's a nice copy. There's no reason why it shouldn't also be in Mylar. It's about the same. It's probably around 7. There's been a lot of debate over what the first Silver Age appearance of the Red Skull is. Looks pretty obvious, doesn't it? It's obviously this one. But the reason there's people that think it's this one is because we find out there's basically a retcon that some of the appearances of the Red Skull weren't actually the Red Skull. They were the original Red Skull. They were a different guy. That's the guy that's in this story, and then we meet the real Red Skull in this story. I mean, the continuity stuff kind of irritates me at this point. I used to be all about the continuity, and now I'm not. In part because continuity doesn't really matter anymore. They've rebooted things 12 times, so what continuity are we trying to, stick to here exactly? So I'm much more of a literalist. The first time the Red Skull appeared in the Silver Age is this one. The first time the Golden Age Red Skull appears in continuity is this one. I mean, again, you should get both of them if you have any question or if you want to read the stories. But, I don't know. It's clearly 65. I don't know. 67, paid $6.75 for this in the summer of 1994. About a 4.5. And these are for the early issues, right? These are the early ones. Wait till you see, I'm paying like nothing for the later issues. $6.75. Again, here's a World War II story. I don't think the World War II stories with Captain America were particularly successful here. I think the ones that were successful, once they decided to put all of his stories in the present day, my guess, and this is just a guess, is I know that Stan, who was basically creating continuity as we know it at this time in Marvel, where he was tying everything together in a way that had never been done before, I know he was struggling to do this. And so that's one of the reasons why the Avengers had the lineup change in issue 16, is because he was having so much trouble figuring out when everything was supposed to be happening, because all of those characters had their own stories, so he wrote them all out. And then the problem became Captain America, because he kept Captain America in Avengers, so the solution for the short term was, let's have the Captain America story set in World War II instead of in the present day. But, I don't know, they're just not that successful for me. 69. Oh, I paid $12.75 for this. Very expensive. We're seeing a little bit of a shift here. Big central, small sidebar, right? This is the last of the issues with the split covers. And if you track this across all of the split books, Strange Tales, Tales to Astonish and Tales of Suspense, they're all going through the same change at the same time. Here's first appearance of the Titanium Man. Introducing the Titanium Man. There's a lot of first appearances in here, and because you have both Iron Man and Captain America in the series, you're getting first appearances for characters that are important to both of those mythos. And so, again, really underrated series, so much cheaper than they should be. If you had this same story and it just said Iron Man, number 69, it would be worth 5 times as much. Of course, it wouldn't be Iron Man 69, it would be Iron Man 31 at this point, but it would definitely be worth more, which I find kind of weird. So here we go. Now we're alternating covers. Here's a quite low grade but solid copy of Tales of Suspense 70 with a Captain America cover. A really cool cover. Really cool. I just don't mean to keep harping on this, but I just find it interesting, the mentality of collectors. If this just said Captain America and had this great Kirby cover on it, I mean, classic, And, this would be issue 12, Captain America 12, right? It would be worth 10 times as much. Tales of Suspense 71. You can see Iron Man still fighting Titanium Man. And again, I have not read a lot of these Iron Mans. I read some of them, but in the 90s. I'm just not a big fan. Here's a classic sleeper storyline. We're going to see the sleepers a lot. There are these robots that have been programmed to activate under certain conditions. And so I kind of like that, where you can get the sort of World War II Nazi elements in the present day by being like, well, they programmed a bunch of killer robots, and now they're activating now. So yeah, we're going to see more of the sleepers. Here we are. It is Tales of Suspense 73. Paid $4.50 for this. There's a note here that there's a tear on the second story. This is the death of the Black Knight, the villainous Black Knight, which eventually will clear the way for Dane Whitman to become the heroic Black Knight a couple years later. I bought this book. I have a memory of buying this because I did not buy this at That's Entertainment or the other stores around here. We had a family vacation to Virginia in 1991, so a little bit earlier than some of these other ones. And we went to a comic book store in Richmond, and I bought a bunch of these, including this one. We were doing a tour of Civil War battlefields. Tales of Suspense 74. Really cool Kirby cover with the final sleep, and the sleeper is destroying the Earth. Cosmic background. You don't see a lot of Cap covers with cosmic backgrounds. Okay, now we get some key issues. Tales of Suspense 75. Now this has the Iron Man cover. Again, we're in such a cover-heavy world now that the fact that the cover doesn't show the Captain America story greatly impacts the value of this comic. It's the first appearance of Sharon Carter, aka Agent 13. Very important in the comics. I think it's also the first appearance of Peggy Carter. Even more important in the MCU. I say I think because I'm a little hazy. They also appear in the next issue. There's a story where basically there's a flashback. Captain America had fallen in love with this woman in World War II, and they never saw each other again. And then he meets Sharon Carter. I don't remember if originally she might have been a younger sister rather than a niece. I forget exactly. They've had to change that a few times to keep the timeline. But anyway, first appearance is here. And then the next issue, another big first appearance. It's the first appearance of Batroc, the Leaper, who I'm a huge fan of. Non-ironically, I love Batroc. Batroc was involved in some of the early issues of Captain America when I first started reading Captain America. And I love the stuff that Grunwald did with the character. I really like Batroc a lot. I paid $1.75 for this one. This does not have... this is an earlier price sticker on it. So it's probably 90 or 91, I'm guessing. But this has Batroc on the cover. Great, great issue. Tales of Suspense 77, Iron Man fighting Ultimo. Ultimo lives. Gene Colan doing the artwork at this point on Iron Man. I'm a big fan of Gene Colan. Don't typically love his superhero work. I think he's great for other genres like horror in particular. So I'm not a huge fan of him in Iron Man, although I know a lot of people consider him to be one of the definitive Iron Man artists. Tales of Suspense 78. I paid 90 cents for this. There's the price tag. 90 cents. And it's a solid mid-grade. Mid-grade. I mean, it's a 4.5. It's got a subscription crease, so I couldn't put it higher than that. With Nick Fury, this is a culmination of a funny storyline, funny to modern audiences, where over in Avengers, Captain America was like, didn't want to really be in the Avengers anymore, and he was writing letters to Nick Fury being like, hey Nick, how about I come and join S.H.I.E.L.D.? And he's not getting them because like Hydra intercepted the letters or something. But it's kind of funny because he's pining away with these love letters to Nick Fury. Anyway, they finally get together here. Tales of Suspense 79. We see Iron Man is in trouble. His armor's busted, and then Namor shows up. Again, Gene Colan, not my favorite work by him. I would think if you're going to have Iron Man fighting Namor, you could probably have something a little more dynamic than this. Speaking of something more dynamic than this, check out this classic cover. I think this is the first appearance of the Cosmic Cube. Look at that awesome cover. Red Skull, Cosmic Cube. Pretty confident. Well, I'm pretty sure it's Kirby, but I'm not sure who's inking it. Anyway, look at that. Now that's a cover, man. That's a great cover. Ta-da! Tales of Suspense 81. I paid $3 for this. Mission: Destroy Iron Man. Return of the Titanium Man. Alright, 82. The Maddening Mystery of the Inconceivable Adaptoid. It does become a little bit difficult based on judging from the covers whether this is the first appearance of the Adaptoid, because he might have been in 81 and we just didn't get the cover till now. I think the storyline is the first appearance of AIM as well. The Cosmic Cube and the Adaptoid are AIM. Typically AIM related. I paid $2.50 for this one. It's a nice copy. Again, a lot of these are, 4.5, 5 range. Another issue I paid $2.50 for. It is 83. It's Iron Man fighting Titanium Man above the Capitol building. Again, I just don't love Colan's superhero stuff. Anyway, really cool cover here. It is the Super Adaptoid. Things just got real. I'm a big fan of the Super Adaptoid. This is Tales of Suspense 84, so this would have been out about the same time as Avengers 34. I'm pretty sure the numbering has lined up at this point. We see the Super Adaptoid returns in Avengers 85, just under a year later. 45, under a year later. Super Adaptoid. Paid $1.75 for this one. Tales of Suspense 85. It's an Iron Man cover where he's in chains and the Mandarin is zapping him in the face. Into the jaws of death. I haven't read a lot of these in a long time, so paid 90 cents for this. A little bit lower grade, probably a 3.5, but solid, like a solid lower grade book. Kind of like it's 86, where it's quite possibly the greatest action issue of the year. getting another like night cover with the stars, and it's a cool cover. I just like the Captain America covers better. The Kirby covers are better to me than Colin's Iron Man covers. Pretty solid copy here for 225. It's Tales of Suspense number 87. Nice red cover, nice colors on this. The Mole Man, not someone I would normally associate with Iron Man. One thing I want to mention that's really cool, we'll see this in the next issue, so let me just jump. I paid 75 cents for this lower grade copy of Tales of Suspense 88. And we see Swordsman and Power Man here, and this is the sort of thing that if you're reading the big books, like, you think of these characters as being Avengers villains, and you can forget that they sometimes appeared in some of these other titles that sort of fill in the continuity gaps for those characters. Swordsman's a character, when I think of Swordsman, I think of him, he appeared in Avengers 19 and 20, and then he showed up a little bit later again, and then doesn't really appear in Avengers again until the Lethal Legion around issue 79. So there's a pretty big gap there, but it's not like the character disappeared. Here he is in Tales of Suspense, and it's the same for a lot of characters, like villains and heroes appearing in places that are sort of not the books you expect them in. I like that sort of thing. I like following the continuity of a character. At one point, I think I got rid of some of them, but I had a whole collection of Hawkeye appearances after he left the Avengers in Avengers 109, and before he comes back to the Avengers briefly, or around 140. There's a period where he's bouncing around from book to book, and you can follow Hawkeye through those other titles. Like, he's in Daredevil 99, he's in Hulk 166. He appears a couple other places. He's in Captain America 179. Okay, $4.75. Oh, I bought this at Great Expectations. Great Expectations was my original LCS. The first place I had a subscription at in Fitchburg, Mass. There used to be two comic stores that were just 3 storefronts down from each other on the same block. And Great Expectations and Same Bat Channel. And Same Bat Channel ended up being bought by That's Entertainment and ended up moving, and Great Expectations unfortunately closed. But that was my first LCS. Pete, the guy who ran the LCS, was a really cool guy. I remember at one point, after his store closed, he offered to sell me his complete runs of Justice League of America and Green Lantern. I didn't really have the money, and those are titles that I've never really gotten into, so I had to pass, but that was a great opportunity, and I really appreciated Pete. I like Pete a lot. So, Great Expectations. Shout out to Fitchburg, if anyone remembers this from the late 80s and the early 90s. It's funny, I used to see Pete once in a while. I went over his house a couple times to look through some of his comics, and he was a cool guy, and then his store closed in the early 90s. And I didn't see him again for over 10 years, and I didn't have a chance to talk to him, but I saw him. Here's the random place I saw him in 2004. I saw him on the train to Boston to go to the Red Sox World Series parade. He happened to be in the same train car, but there was so many people I couldn't get over to see him. $1.50 for issue 90. A really cool Red Skull cover. Something looks different about the art here. I don't think this is Kirby. There's something about Captain America, the way he's drawn. It doesn't look quite right to me. In terms of Kirby, it's fine, but it's a really cool cover. Tales of Suspense 91. The Monstrous Crusher. It's a big guy. It's a big dude. So you look at some of these villains and you think, how could they possibly be challenging our heroes? This is before the power creep of 5 decades of writers trying to one-up themselves by making the heroes more and more and more powerful, to the point where Wolverine's immortal and can regenerate himself from a single cell. Give me a break. The fan wanking, like the fan service. This is what happens when fans take over as the writers. It just gets dumb. Tales of Suspense 92. Here's a cool Nick Fury Shield cover. And I don't remember if this is a crossover with Strange Tales, but of course, Captain America was appearing in Strange Tales for a little while under Steranko around issue 159 to 162 or so. He was in a storyline there, so I don't really remember if this is a crossover. Okay, I paid $1.50 for this. This is a book that's getting a little bit of heat, a little bit, because there's like a one-panel cameo of MODOK in it. So technically first appearance. But also paid $1.50 for MODOK's first full appearance, where he is on the cover. It's kind of funny. If this be MODOK, the MODOK blurb is this big. MODOK himself is way down here in the corner. It's a little odd that you get the AIM agents front and center and not MODOK, a classic Kirby giant head. Kirby loves his giant malformed babies and his giant heads with tiny little arms and feet. He has a lot of those. And here's the number one MODOK. First appearance of MODOK. This book has gone up a lot in the last couple years. You know, there's a MODOK TV show out now, a cartoon. And it's interesting. Sharon Carter's on the cover of this as well. I wonder if that's her first cover appearance. I don't remember seeing her on any of the others. There she is here. All right, getting close to the end of the run. Tales of Suspense 95, The Grey Gargoyle. $2.50. Another $2.50 for number 96. I love this cover. Absolutely love this cover. I love the colors, the composition. It's just cool. I've always really dug this cover a lot. I think this issue might be the issue where one of these issues around here, maybe this one has an infamous Stan Lee mistake where he dialogued it wrong, and he was like, where Captain America shouts to the guys fighting, "Only one of us is getting out of this alive, and it won't be me." It's like, Cap, have a little self-confidence. Tales of Suspense 97. Based on the cover, it looks like it's the first appearance of Whiplash, an important Iron Man villain. Again, a lot of first appearances in this run. I paid $3.50 for this one. Tales of Suspense 97. Now, for 98, I want to just double check something here, because when I bought this copy of number 98, which I don't have the price on, it's got a sub crease. It's but it's a solid book. Back cover is nice. The importance of this is it's the second storyline with the Black Panther, right? So, again, underrated. We're going to see this storyline with the Black Panther runs for a few issues. He's on the cover of 100 as well. And this comes right before he joins the Avengers. So he joins the Avengers in Avengers 52, as I mentioned, with the lining up of the numbering. Basically, in Avengers, I think it's at the end of Avengers 100. It might be Captain America 100. It might be in issue 101. Captain America basically suggests to Black Panther that he should go to America and join the Avengers. And then basically the next month in Avengers 52, which came out at the same time as Captain America 102, the Black Panther shows up and joins the team. The thing about this cover is I've never noticed, because it was drawn so well, that my copy of this has Black Panther with a tail, and he's not supposed to have a tail. But whoever drew the tail on my copy did it really well. It's even got like a blue like a line there for like the highlights to go with the way this is drawn. So it's like expertly done. And I didn't realize for a long time that he's not supposed to have a tail. And then at some point, I realized, oh, Black Panther doesn't have a tail. What's that all about? Finally, Tales of Suspense number 99, last issue of the series. It's an Iron Man cover at the mercy of the Magia. I don't know if this is the first Magia issue or first storyline. Of course, that's the Marvel Universe version of the Mafia. And yeah, so as we know, what happened after that is Marvel got a different distribution deal in 1968. Basically, they had been under DC's thumb, and DC was distributing the comics for them and had limited them to only 8 titles a month, and they eventually expanded a little bit. And basically, in 1968, the distributor basically told DC they had to allow Marvel to do a lot more books because Marvel's books were just selling better. And so the pressure was put on. Marvel was allowed to do more titles. They had a massive expansion where they took all the split books and they split them into individual titles, and they also came up with some other books at that time. So you get this big explosion in new titles in 1968, where you get Silver Surfer #1, you get Captain Marvel #1, but you also get Captain America 100, you get Hulk 102, you get Doctor Strange 169, and then you get Iron Man #1, Submariner #1, and Shield #1, and some other books. Big explosion of books. There was a bit of a gap, so we see Iron Man. There's a gap before the first issue came out. I don't know if they already had the split book stuff done, but basically there was a one-shot split book with Submariner and Iron Man together, and then the next month they actually came out with the first issue, both of those titles. So if you're, for those characters, that's a book that's gotten a lot of heat. It's not worth still as much, I think, as either Iron Man 1 or Submariner 1, but it's sort of the first issue. But Captain America takes over Tales of Suspense with issue 100, and so that's where we're going to stop here. Next time I'll have Captain America 100 through 150. I've got all the keys. Some of them are signed, so we'll be looking at those. I also have a lot of really nice copies. My Captain America collection, I happen to have from around issue, 135 up to 175 or so. I have a lot of really nice copies. So we'll be looking at all of those. Next time it'll be 100 to 150. So let me know what you think below. Again, I can't stress enough how underrated I think this title is. All the split books are. There's so many great first appearances, great storylines, classic issues, classic covers, and they're all just way cheaper than they should be, based solely on the number on the cover and the fact that it's a split book. So, the fact that Tales of Suspense 59 you can get cheaper than Captain America 100, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So think about it, check yourself, and then run out to your LCS and buy a bunch of these up, because they're so cheap for the entertainment value you get out of them. So that's it for this time. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.